Hey guys, it's Natsu, or as my PS4 friends know me as, Waka. I just figured I'd make a video to help out some of the people who are confused about how some of the stuff in this game works, especially at the more detailed and endgame level. So, I'm gonna cover the Magic Knight Blade in this video, and I'll make a Stam Knight Blade video later, but I figured this would be what I make first, mainly because everyone wants to run VCR, VAS, the mini trials. So going over the basics, I'm going to go over race, food, and chance and traits. So for race, Dunmer is the undisputed king of DPS. Their Destructive Ancestry passive, which is huge. It's 7% of flame along with 3% magicka here and 6% magicka here. It's just really heavily stacked for offensive races. High elf is pretty close, but the flame damage really gives it a huge advantage, especially since Somerset, where they buffed the modifiers for light attacks, and it's made a huge difference. I think it went from a 40-to-1 ratio to a 10.5-to-1 ratio, so the boost in that part of the equation is actually quite substantial. So for food, I personally would run either Witch Mother's Brew or Clockwork Soleil. I'm being a bit of a cheap ass here, so I'm just carrying around Witch Mother's Brew. Blue food used to be sustainable in some trials last patch, but with the Murkmire sustain nerfs, that's no longer possible. Some people will, and it is perfectly viable to use blue food in VCR, but with me personally, I just put a couple points in health and ran purple food, especially since I run downstairs. It felt better for me personally, and I ended up doing more DPS with it as well. Just less heavy attacks really helps out, and I'm not out of gas upstairs and I'm not out of gas downstairs, and I'm not able to shield or whatever. So enchantments. So this can be a tricky answer because it also kind of depends on the group that you're with. So at the current moment, this is what I would run in most normal instances, which is a infused flame enchant front bar and infused absorb magic enchant back bar. If it's a short fight, and you can sustain it, you should swap this out for a berserker enchant, but I don't have enough transmutes to transmute a third infernal staff, so I'm just rolling with this for now. The other one you can use is an infused prismatic. In the case with Daedric fights, usually they're so short that sustain isn't an issue. Like say, Rocco 2, Lightning Atro, Stone Atro. Rakan, I can understand you running out of gas, but I mean the first three bosses I mentioned, if you're actually fighting there long enough to run out of magic, there's bigger issues going on right now. So traits for armor, it's still the same as last patch. You want to run Master Architect, not Master Architect, I'm sorry. Infused on the big pieces and Divines on the small pieces. People argue infused or divines. Honestly, they're so close in DPS, it honestly doesn't even matter. On the small pieces though, divines wins out by a decent bit. You're not going to get enough of a boost. I think it's like 400 something magic, which isn't that much compared to a couple extra % of a Mundus Stone. Jewelry traits I will mention later in the video, but more or less it's still the same as last patch. Infuse big pieces, divine small pieces. If you already have a divine's big piece, don't worry about it. It's not a big enough deal that you should be panicking or going out of your way to get train piece for it. If you have train piece to blow, go ahead, but not something that should be on the top of your priority list. So one of the first controversies I want to talk about is the spell strategist and the Mother Sorrow debate. Oh shoot, I don't have it with me.
May I do?
There we go. Spell strategist and Mother Sorrow, both of which are very, very powerful sets. So to put my opinion on spell strategist out there, personally, I think it's a great set. It is very powerful. It's great where it works. But compared to Mother Sorrow, it is a very niche weapon versus Mother Sorrow, which is good all around in general and still really good in boss fights. The main drawback of spell strategist, say for console, is you lose a lot of cleave damage from the lack of 5-piece. I mean, you get 500 spell damage on one target, but everything else is not going to get anything for damage. And since trials are, give or take 50-60% of a, 50-60% of it are trash, you're going to lose more time going to spell strategists. Like, it's not worth giving up. The small DPS gain you get on a boss isn't worth giving up the huge amount of DPS you're gonna lose in trash pools. But like I said, my opinion, it is a great set. The only place on console I would probably ever use it is fast, especially if you're in an experienced group and you can already burn the minis with plenty of cleave. And honestly, if it's gonna come down to focusing the minis, this will help you kill it as well. But aside from Vaz, I don't think I'd ever really use it. It's just the drawbacks on console are just way too costly when you don't have access to instant swaps. So if you guys are in Arcane University, you guys will know that I constantly tell people, stop running Sororia, stop running Sororia. Even on PC, the set's kind of a meme. It's not that it's a weak set, it's just that there's better sets out there, and with how high DPS is nowadays, your fight should not be taking that long. And in short fights, Sororia is, because of how long it takes to quote-unquote rev up, it's not going to be that great. So, like I muttered earlier, I run Master Architect in most of my content. Master Architect and Mother Sorrow. The 5-piece is, its power comes from, well, for one, the Major Slayer buff is actually great for burst DPS, which a lot of the smaller boss fights end up being. And the buff to two allies, that's huge. And ideally, you want to keep Major Slayer out of the hands of Stam wherever possible, and this set allows you to do that while providing yourself with good DPS. So 90% of the content, 80-90% of the content, this is what you're going to end up running. There's a bit more variety in the minis, but I'll get to that later. So the loadout I would normally use if I'm not running Master Architect is this. Julianos and Mother Sorrow. If I had Burning Spellweave, I would run it, but I've been a bit lazy about it, and I'm either in Master Architect or on the Standblade half the time, so I never bothered. But there's not much to say about it. Juliano's just a really good all-around set, and 300 spell damage for a 5-piece. You can move around wherever, and you don't ever need to track it like Sororia, so it's honestly one of the best sets out there to use. And if I'm staying upstairs in VCR, this is actually what I would run. So, going over to monster sets, there's a couple options. I don't think I have Baylork on me, but oh well. So, first thing you can use is obviously Zon. Not much you need to say about that. It's the most powerful single target set in the game right now. And the one-piece smoke crit's really nice, but it's not good in every situation. Some fights will favor themselves, like say VCR. VCR I will run Grobdar. Grobdar, the max magic is really nice, especially downstairs if you're trying to burst. And the cleave that the pool of lava offers is really nice for cleaving multiple minis, you know, cleaving the minis, cleaving the little ads, the Veladred shadow spiders, or whatever, I think they call them, monstrosity. It's been a while. And, you know, just hitting the boss in general just really helps. Just really helps with crowd control. Another option you can use is one piece of any crit set and another piece of another crit set. So in this case, I would be running, you know, Slimeclaw and Zahn. That is your best ranged option. If you don't want to use Scoria, the one piece is not really that good. I mean, it's a health bonus, and the two piece isn't really the greatest. So this, you know, 2 crit pieces will be what you use to augment that. So a set that not too many people use, Balorg or Balorg, however you want to call it. It's from March of Sacrifices. Where it's good, that set is actually really good, and it excels in situations where you need a lot of burst. Say Vass, where you really want to get some burst damage going when all three bosses are stacked together. Balorg is honestly one of the best sets out there for it. 2 crit pieces can work there as well. I personally would never use Zahn in there. I would just go with 2 crit pieces if I'm not going to use Balorg. And going on to jewelry trades. I mainly run Arcane. I don't really run Bloodthirsty personally. So it's also important to know the situation at hand before you go with the jewelry trade. If you're in VCR and you know you're going downstairs, you should be in 3 Arcane. It's way better for burst DPS downstairs than, Bloodthirsty's pretty useless downstairs, especially when the difference between 25 and 0 is hardly anything. I don't think you can even survive, the crystal can even survive one impale. Bloodthirsty upstairs in VCR is really nice, and Arcane really does help with the ad controls as well. That's one other advantage of it. And me personally, I would just run Arcane. That's what I haven't really deviated from it, and it served me pretty well. It helps a lot in trash pulls, and it's really not bad DPS. Like, Bloodthirsty is strong, but people shouldn't sleep on 3 Arcane. It's still actually really strong. And also, the biggest advantage as well, Arcane scales really well on Magic Nightblades compared to other classes. Like, say, Sorcerer, actually, because of the passive spell damage buffs, they actually would go pretty well with Infused, but Magic Nightblades Arcane is king. And one other thing I should mention, the 3 Bloodthirsty is really good on like stand classes, and definitely good on magic classes, but I do think having a bigger magic pool and being able to help out more with trash fights is a big advantage. And really your toughest mechanics come in execute, so as long as your stand blades are, your stand blades are in 3 Bloodthirsty and they're getting off 80 to 100k executes, it shouldn't really take that long. If anything, just help push the boss to execute. And like I said, like with Arcane, you really can't go wrong with it. So back to the Sororia topic. The reason I really dislike Sororia for console, I mean I hate it for PC as well, but specifically for console, is because there is no accurate way of tracking it. You have a little timer for Sororia, but that's not the actual timer for the Sororia circle. That is actually the timer for the the buff that is called the Boon of Sororia, which is the buff that's adding spell damage slowly over time. Without an accurate way to track it, you're really risking a lot of DPS. You're risking positioning just to get your spell damage ramped up, and it's really just not worth it. Like on PC, I have an add-on that, let me see if I can put it. Oh shoot, I don't have it actually. Let's see if I can pull it up. There we go. Real quick. Just give it a second. Okay, I guess it's not working because I don't actually have to set it in my inventory, but I have an add-on that literally tells me when I can move and when I can't, and when I have to stay. That gives, that really helps out with Sororia management, but the lack of that really kills the set on console. But yeah, guys, that's the very quick guide that I wanted to make just to help settle some of the controversy and what people should be using in trials, etc., etc. Not gonna do you any good if you're taking forever to kill the trash pulls, or if you're using Sororia and keeping like 2 stacks. So to recap, on console, don't use spell strategists unless it's like for VAS. It's just not worth the amount of time you lose on trash pulls, and it's not strong enough. It's not strong enough to be worth using. Like, it's just the amount of DPS it has over Mother Sorrow is just not enough for that payoff. And Sororia, you can't track it accurately. It's just not. You might as well go with an option that's consistent, that's known to work, and that will work. Like, instead of relying on chance because you can't tell when the circle's gonna reset. But yeah, guys, that is a quick video that I wanted to make. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, I'm one of the mentors in Arcane University. Just send me a message. I'll reply to you when I can. Hope you guys all have a good day. Catch you guys.